Hey, this is Dutch Nets fan coming to you with another episode of Nets Level. You can follow us on the HoopSpaces YouTube channel and also follow HoopSpaces on Twitter at HoopSpaces. And you can follow a Dutch Nets fan that's at Dutch Nets fan on Twitter as well. It was actually an embarrassing week. We had a four-game losing streak, and there were losses against the Knicks, for example, which was very painful. It's now the second game that they smacked us basically since the trade, and since we beat them like 9 times in a row. And the Nets were just looking in total disarray. But yeah, we got a big win now against the Celtics. So let's try to look at the upside of that win, what the Nets can build on, and what things are going to look like, hopefully, for the future or for the rest of the season for the Brooklyn Nets. Before I dive into the Celtics game, I first want to say that I am extremely surprised, like I'm almost in tears. What as Nets world will know, Sean Marks is allergic to having a backup center. He's allergic to rebounding in his tenure, and definitely in the last 3 seasons, the Nets have always been dead last or 29th, 28th, 27th when it comes to stats like rebounding percentage. The Nets lose the rebounding battle all the time. And outside of a short stretch, the Nets just always ended up, having way less shots than the opponent. So there's always been a big issue for the Nets, and very surprisingly, at the start of the season, just after the preseason, Sean Mark said he was happy with our front court depth. I have never heard, almost never heard untruer words spoken than that. Um, Good. What happened this season when it came to rebounding, it's known. However, Sean Marks has finally hired or signed a backup center. Nerlens Noel, was just bought out by the Detroit Pistons, will sign with the Brooklyn Nets, according to Woj. And you can already see it happening on Nets Twitter. People are shocked, and rightfully so, because we have finally will have a backup center. No disrespect to our friend Dayron Sharp, he's just not NBA ready, and also with Ben Simmons, being out, for games on end. We just needed something else. I mean, some teams are just going to punish you for having Dorian Finney-Smith play, the five, and it also sort of messes up Nicholas Claxton's minutes. The fact that we don't have a backup center. So at the end of the day, I think respect where respect's due. I hate Sean Marks, but finally signed a backup center, so it means that he still has some brain capacity left. Anyway, so let's get into the game. Um, as because of the time difference, I got up early this morning to watch the game. I didn't stay up last night to watch the game, and then there's always the decision one has to make. Like, do I just check the score? And if I check the score already, I will not only spoil myself, but if the Nets get smacked again, then you sort of lose all motivation to watch the game. Or you can also have a close game that Nets win in double overtime, and then it's of course disappointing because you spoiled yourself, so you won't be in the moment. When, for example, someone ties the game with a Hail Mary in regulation, you will be sitting at the edge of your seat because you already know the end result. But I was strong, as I usually am. I didn't check the result, I just watched the game. But I did end up, especially for the first quarter, feeling like a masochist because I don't think I've been as down as I was um, this season as I was during the first quarter because, man, that was so awful. It was looking like it was going to be another ass whooping by the Celtics, and I was really contemplating the meaning of life. Right, I did not enjoy that first quarter, and yeah, I was just really out of it because at the end of the day, we have quite a few defensive specialists. And we keep up giving 30 plus points away per quarter. I mean, the Knicks scored like 81 points on us in the first half. Like, if you keep playing like that, then it doesn't matter what else you have. If you can't guard anybody, then you're not going to win games. And of course, I know that because we can be at moments struggling for offense. When you keep missing shots, the defense is often in disarray. You don't get to set your defense. You're getting a lot of fast breaks against you, etc. And on top of that, a lot of fouling. Then you're basically setting yourself up to lose. Add turnovers to that mix, and then it's just a recipe for disaster. So has been a problem for the Nets, and it looked like it was going that same way again now against Boston. I mean, the turnovers weren't killing us that much, and they were very much in balance during the game. However, it just didn't look good. And also in the beginning of the second quarter, before Nets finally started to chip away at the win, it just looked terrible. Um, but the Nets managed to close the gap, and they were down single digits, I believe, by halftime, and it seemed like a miracle. Because Jalen Brown was playing amazing. He started great in the game. Jason Tatum didn't start necessarily great, but he often is a slow starter against the Nets. I don't know what that is. But overall, um, the Celtics were doing what they were supposed to do. One thing that I did notice is a player that Boston was going to miss, especially with Marcus Smart being in foul trouble, is the fact that Malcolm Brogdon wasn't there. Because Malcolm Brogdon is not only an excellent backup point guard, I mean, let's be honest, like he would be battling for starting minutes if he were a Brooklyn Net, but also he has played very well against the Nets. So for the Celtics to be missing Malcolm Brogdon is something that was big. I'm not sure if Brooklyn wins this game, if Brogdon plays, because I think that they might have, with him, have maybe built that lead up to 30 plus, and then it's getting really, really hard to come back from that. Even though if you look at the turnaround, right, then it's huge. I mean, we came back from a 28-point deficit, but the swing being 28 down to winning double digits is huge, of course. But like I said, I think that the hole would have been just too big if Malcolm Brogdon wasn't there. But I have no sympathy or no, I don't feel bad for the Celtics. We're still missing 30 million a year on our roster in Ben Simmons. Evan Sumner wasn't there, even though he was out of rotation. I'm not entirely sure if Utah was available. I'm not sure that he was. But regardless, what we've been through as Nets fans in the past years, I think no one is going to feel sorry for players being available or not available on any opposing team. Like I said, the Nets, closed the gap, by the end of the second quarter. I mean, let's be honest. Mikael Bridges, Brooklyn Bridges was amazing. I mean, let's take a quick look at the box score. And Bridges, he scored, well, he played 42 minutes, so that is a lot, of course. But we went 13 for 22 from the field, with 59%. He went 66% from three, making four. And he scored a total of 38 points. He had 10 rebounds, so double double. And let's see, he had 4 assists and a plus minus of +8. So he did what he had to do and more. He really anchored, our offense and our defense at stages, even though there were other people more spectacular when it came to the defensive end. Mikael Bridges has been everything that he is needed to be and more for the Brooklyn Nets squad. Dinwiddie, again, he's shooting in the 40%. I don't know. I know that it's not that awful for a guard, I guess. Not everyone shoots 50% from the field, but he had 17 points. He had 8 assists, so that's good. Of course, 3 rebounds. So he had a decent game, and he made up for his field goal percentage. No, he didn't. I misread because he was 1 for 5 for three, so 20%. But his 3-pointer was very timely, and he attacked the basket, in the second half, which opened things up for the Nets and put also Spencer himself on the foul line. So even though his statistics might not look that great, I think he had a positive impact on the game. Dorian Finney-Smith. Now he, as Chuck Font said after the game in the press conference, he said the two blocks that he had, I think, in the second quarter sort of galvanized the Nets, and one of them was like super emphatic. I love this game. He didn't shoot great from the field, but he did score 5 3-pointers, having 45% a 3-point percentage, which actually really counts as a godsend for the Nets because couldn't shoot, he couldn't hit the ocean, right? He was like awful. And the Nets expected from him someone who's a defensive specialist and someone who can shoot 40% from three. And when you end up shooting like 20% or less, that's just terrible, right? So he should be a player who scores about 15 points per game on 40% from three and making some defensive plays. And he did exactly that against the Celtics. He made big plays when it counted. He added 9 rebounds and 3 assists, and he was a game high plus 14 in plus minus, which he shared with Royce O'Neal, who also had 14% plus minus. O'Neal himself added 10 points and 6 rebounds. And Nick Claxton, he was quiet offensively. He only had 2 points, but he did have 12 rebounds. And I think he played a decent game also because, again, he had 3 blocks, and also these blocks were definitely spectacular, especially one in particular where he blocked Jason Tatum. Um, Joe Harris, he made 1 3-pointer. It wasn't very impactful aside of that. Seth Curry did have some good minutes. He also had 14% plus minus actually, and he shot 50% from the field. He had hit a couple of mid-range shots that were very much needed. And oddly enough, even though he has a decent playmaker, he had 1 assist. He did have 3 steals, and those 3 steals were important. Spencer Dinwiddie also had a big steal and had 3 steals in total. So overall, I think almost everyone chipped in and contributed to this win. If there's one negative to this game outside of the atrocious defense in like the first quarter and the first part of the second quarter, I think is Cam Thomas. That's the one negative because it would have been amazing and we would have needed it that he also participated in this win because he was a game worst minus 14. He only got 7 minutes, and I understand Jacques Van this game why he didn't give Cam Thomas any more minutes. And it would have been nice if he would have participated in this 28-point comeback because we're going to need his offense. Let's be honest. I mean, even though we haven't been struggling that much offensively, we've been more so struggling defensively since the trade. But in the end, he's the one who can create his own shot. He has been shooting quite well from the 3-point line. And we're going to need him moving forward, right? So in that sense, I would have loved him to also have, even if it's not like 20 or 30 or 40 points, if he could have had like 12 points, 5 assists, 4 assists, that would have been good. So that's my only negative about that game, other than the atrocious defense to start the game, is the fact that Cam Thomas didn't really participate because Jacques Van has been a bit stingy when it comes to minutes for Cam, and this game does not give Jacques Van a reason to give him more minutes. However, Van has been quite consistent, let's say stubborn. One could also say when it comes to players who he thinks deserve minutes but don't perform well, he keeps giving them minutes. He is not someone who easily changes his rotation in that sense, and especially when it comes to veterans, he sticks to them even if they, are playing like extremely poorly. So I hope that Jacques Van, is going to be consistent as he has been also with Cam Thomas and say, okay, you had like a terrible game, you only played 7 minutes, but normally you should play anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. So against Charlotte on Sunday, you're going to get your 20 to 30 minutes as you always do. And I hope Jacques Van does it because it would be really unfair and inconsistent if Cam Thomas now ends up playing 7 or 8 minutes again or falling out of rotation for whatever reason. I would not agree with that, and I hope it's not going to happen because Charlotte should, normally speaking, and knock on wood here, because the Nets have had a way of disappointing and underperforming. But normally speaking, the Hornets game should be a good game for Cam Thomas to get about 20 points and to be, in the mix when it comes to winning a basketball game. So overall, when it comes to the Celtics, let's look at their box score quickly. Jason Tatum had 22 points, but was a game low minus 19, so he didn't have a big impact. He did have 13 rebounds and 5 assists, so his numbers don't look terrible. But for someone who is by many considered an MVP candidate, a superstar, 22 points is not enough, and you should not allow, obviously, a team with no stars beat you when you're up by 28 points. Al Horford didn't pitch in that much. He's been good against the Nets, but one of the things that I like that we did is we did punish them for having Al Horford on the floor. Time Lord, he did injure himself and did not return to the game, even though he did play 19 minutes. And in the meantime, we actually had Dorian Finney-Smith as a backup center, which hasn't worked out well for us. Actually worked because the Celtics were scrambling, right? They tried Horford, they tried Hauser, they tried what's his name, Luke Cornett. They tried Muscala, Pritchard. They tried to match us when we were playing with Cam Johnson and with Dorian Finney-Smith then at the five. But they just couldn't find a way to keep us from scoring and to keep us from first taking the lead and then maintaining the lead. So in that sense, it's something we did well. Jaylen Brown was definitely the best player on the Celtics side. He scored 35 points, added 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Marcus Smart was in foul trouble for large parts of the game. Still played 29 minutes, but he only had 13 points, which I guess for him is normal, and 8 assists. So it wasn't that bad per se, but overall the Nets were better as soon as we could basically go through about the midway point of the second quarter. The Nets were just better, basically, and that was a much needed win. So if we look at the upcoming schedule for the Nets, let's see, then the Nets will play Charlotte on Sunday, then they will play the Rockets on Tuesday. So these are 2 games that you can absolutely win, that you should win, let's be honest, because one of the things that the Nets did, when KD and Kyrie were there this season, which was a bit of a change from previous seasons, is we beat everyone that we needed to beat. And we sprinkled in a couple of wins against good teams. I mean, still the Celtics beat us, for example, but we did sprinkle in a couple of quality wins, and that 18-2 run that we had is still, I think, the best run of the season. The best 20-point game stretch of any team this season in the NBA. So if we can win on Sunday and on Tuesday, then it would be good to be on a good game, on a 3-game win streak. We add Nerlens Noel into the game, into the rotation. Maybe he can already make a few minutes on Sunday and definitely get some minutes against Houston, because we're going to need him on Thursday. Because on Thursday, the Nets, who are going to go on a 5-game road trip, will play against Milwaukee, and the Bucks are, in my opinion, at the moment, by far the best team in the NBA. I think they're on a 16-game win streak at the moment. If they, can get a streak up to 18, 19 wins, we might have to be the streak busters. But I would like us to have the best 20-game stretch in the entire season. So let's make sure that the Bucks don't get there. The Bucks have been playing great, even when not all the players are available. But the last couple of games, I think they did have everyone. Chris Middleton is not Chris Middleton yet, but he is still playing decent. Drew Holiday is playing out of his mind. He seems to have added, upped his game a little bit this season. His offense has been really good. His defense has been the same as it always has been. Brook Lopez is playing well for them. They have basically a big 4 with at the moment, the way they're playing right now, with Lopez, Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday. So that's going to be an interesting game. So what I'm hoping for is you win these 2 games, one against Charlotte, one against Houston, and then you make it a good game against the Bucks. And who knows, the Bucks are not unbeatable, and they have lost games this season. To quick look at the standings um, in the Eastern Conference at the moment, and you see that they are one game ahead of Boston for the lead. So Milwaukee's number one seed in the Eastern Conference. They also have the best record in the entire NBA. However, they did lose 17 games thus far, and they have also lost a game or two that they should have won. So I know that they will be, expecting to win against us at home in Milwaukee. But if you can, like I said, if you can get the next two games, we'll be feeling good about ourselves going into Milwaukee, and then let's see. We're going to need big contributions, by Cam Johnson, by Mikal Bridges, Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie. Everyone is going to have to play, towards their level or even a little bit better. And maybe Nerlens Noel can help us with rebounding, can body up with Giannis a little bit, or can body up with Brook Lopez. So I'm really looking forward to that game. So overall, this could have been a really ugly week. We could have had another smackdown by the Celtics, but thankfully that didn't happen. Let's see where things go from here. All right, this was Nets Level with Dutch Nets Fan. You can follow me on Twitter at Dutch Nets Fan. Also follow HoopSpaces on Twitter. That's at HoopSpaces, and check out the HoopSpaces YouTube channel. And I'll be back with another video next week.